Hi, Jacquelyn. I'm
Hi,
well. Good to
how are
see
you?
you. Thanks again for joining for this conversation.
Of course, so
So
happy
to folks
to.
who are joining, I'm Stacy Kono. I'm super excited to be here with mom of my mom founder, Jacquelyn Revere.
Wow, that would be
And
me.
we're going to talk today about how we're both and we're together trying to really transform the solitary and often invisible work of caregiving for more
Yes,
powerful community and societal
yes,
recognition of this work. Yeah?
oh,
Yes. So welcome,
yes.
welcome as you're all joining. Yay, waving back to you on Instagram.
Hey,
Just a little bit about me. I'm Stacy Kono. I live in Berkeley, California. I've been a part-time caregiver to my dad, who survived stomach cancer and was diagnosed with Parkinson's 2 years ago, and to my uncle, who's in Los Angeles. Both of them are in their 80s, and they actually both passed away in the last couple of months. So I've been sort of grieving for them and really stepping back from what it has meant to be a caregiver. I'm also the executive director at Hand in Hand, the Domestic Employers Network, which is a national organization that has been working to bring dignity and respect to care workers and make sure that those of us who hire nannies, house cleaners, home care workers can get the support we need to create a really fair and just working relationship. Hand in Hand offers resources and training to help folks who hire people to work in their homes to be able to create a good working relationship, an effective one, right? And so we have sample contracts and tips on our website, www.domesticemployers.org, as well as tips around communication and interviewing someone to join you. We also advocate for policy change because we know this work is much bigger than any one of us, that we actually need to create the policies that will ensure investment in care and protections for workers in our homes, so everyone can get the care and support that they need. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm so excited to talk to you, Jacquelyn. You want to say a little bit more about yourself? I'm super excited to work with you talk with you because of your work to bring visibility and community for caregivers across the country.
I appreciate that. So I first want to start out
Thank you.
saying that I'm so sorry. Having recent loss, having loss is hard, but like recent loss like hits you right here, and so
Thank you.
I also uh yeah. So me, that Portland around LA. By the way, I stutter, and so you guys will see that this entire time, but I'll continue to talk because that's why um, I took care of my mom for a year and a half. With, um, I would for people by Alzheimer's. I started taking care of my mom when I just got used. So that's sort of like how me giving a voice to caregivers
Yeah.
started.
You know what? Something's going on with the sound, I
Someone
think.
says that,
It's a little staticky or not staticky, but kind
yeah,
of breaking up am I breaking up too?
care. Can
Yep.
you hear me? All right. If you guys can hear me, put a thumbs up.
I can.
Sound is real bad. Okay, so is the sound quality bad because you guys hear me stutter, or is the sound quality bad because the sound
I
quality
think it's the
is
sound
bad?
quality's bad. It kind of goes in and out a little bit, but you actually were just really audible just then. So, oh, I'm seeing, yeah, I'm
Oh,
seeing
cool.
thumbs
Okay.
and fire.
There's also just a few people in the comment section I want to say hi to. Hey, Brandy, the work that you're doing is fantastic, and we will meet. You and I will meet, okay? Okay, so I started sharing what it was like taking care of my on socials, and then we got huge, and that sort of gave other caregivers, validation, and they felt seen, and it was just so lovely to have a space for them, but for me also.
Yeah.
Now I love what I do. And this is really my passion. And so, sharing stories. I'm a writer also, and so like trying to make sure that we get so many formats as they can.
Getting many formats out there in terms of the story plot. Yep.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Well, I feel like, you and I, we got to talk yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. And
Yeah.
Was it Monday? Maybe it was Monday. No, it was Monday. Monday, not yesterday. Yesterday was the rainy day. Was it raining down there too? Right. It's
right now it's
here, but actually I lost my electricity at home, so I had to come to work to get Wi-Fi.
That's crazy.
I think probably some trees it was super windy up here in the Bay. So I bet you some trees got knocked or something like that. So hopefully by the time I get home, we'll have electricity. It just meant being in silence in the darkness, which was very meditative. Yeah. Well, so welcome again for those of you joining. My name's Stacy Kona. I'm super excited to be talking with Jacquelyn this morning because she's been creating supportive space and connection for family caregivers on social media. And we're in the same work of instigating change, dignity for all caregivers, and support for all caregivers. So I'm excited to have that conversation with Jacquelyn. Cool. Okay. Well, so when we talked, you shared with me you hired someone to support you in caring for your mom, and we talked about how it can be hard to hire care workers because there's like no HR department down the hall to reach out to. It's really for individuals hiring caregivers. It's really can be isolating. And then we also talked about how it can be isolating for the workers too, because there's just not a lot of protections out there for home care workers. And as I mentioned earlier, hand in hand, we have different tips and resources around hiring, sample contracts, and tip sheets for communication that folks can find on our website. But I'm wondering what it was like for you when you were first looking for support at home.
So we're talking about 6 years.
Okay.
Years. I went through many. The very first person that I hired was someone who had cared for
Okay.
my dad's mom. And so getting someone that sort of knew the family was fantastic. But she like, wanted like 40 hours per week. And
Yeah.
I just could not pay that. So I had her with her for a short amount of time, then stopped. We, I, a list, and I don't think I've actually ever told this story, but it was the most awful experience of our life. You know, there are people who to the field like need work and may not be caring for someone with mental. So she came in with not a lot of knowledge, but like we taught her and stuff. But we didn't do background checks. I didn't. It just she what happened was she left at like 4 a.m. and just left, and then it never. And so I've never told that story. That's crazy. But those two instances sort of like set out how I started doing people, how I started to like find people like that I knew what
Yeah.
ask. And by the person that we worked with, hey, like on so.
You know what? Your sound's also going in and out again a little bit.
Oh, okay, hold
And
on.
now it's not.
What can I do about that?
Is it the position of the phone?
Okay, maybe. Let me just put it like right here. Y'all get to see my bed now. This is real personal now, guys. But like going through all of the negative experiences, not having the tools and resources, slowly over 6 years helped me learn. Now, had I had you guys, I probably could have bypassed, all of that. But we all have to start out somewhere, right?
It's like the most important work, right? You're there for your loved ones. So it makes sense that it would work with somebody who's a close family friend or even family. But then, it can be so hard. And then the setup is because this work, like you and I were talking about, can be paid such low wages and without protection. Oftentimes people just sort of come into the work because they need a job, and we actually want this work to be valued so that folks stay in it, that they require skills to do it, even though it's treated like unskilled work.
Yeah, there needs to be a cultural conversation, and there needs to be societal change with how we seek care, with how we, see the value in people, with how we see like the necessity for community, because the people who work in your home, they become like family even. And so like there is a bit more heart when you are hiring someone to care for a loved one.
Yeah. It's just, it's so the intimacy of this work. I think people really figured it out too during the pandemic, when like they couldn't have a nanny in their house, or couldn't have a cleaner or a home care worker in their house because of the early days of the lockdown. It's like, oh my gosh, what I can't do anything without them, or just the value of it. So it really shifted so many people's mindset. When you and I talked on Monday too, we talked about just both the history of how domestic workers, care workers were deliberately excluded from labor protections during the New Deal, such that particularly Black domestic workers and farm workers, as a way of perpetuating slavery era conditions. And then, how it all trickles down to today of what we see, the invisibility of this workforce, majority women of color doing home care work. And then the other layer of just the sexist views of care work, that, oh, that's women's work, and oh, they do it out of the generosity of their heart, and so that's why we don't have to pay them or create benefits, all that ridiculousness. So yeah, it just, in many ways, the devaluation of care work is deeply tied to the isolation and challenges of the millions of family caregivers in our country at the same time. I'm wondering, both to the audience, what you think care workers and family caregivers deserve, and to you, Jacquelyn, what are the parallels you see?
Well, so it's so interesting how you stated like how care started, and how that leads to how we see it now. So like I sort of like see it same as how policing started. Like it started as a means of controlling freed slaves, and then look at where it is now. And so like when the core of something has a corrupt start, that's sort of how it flows into the future. And so like we need to take hold of it and change what it means, and make sure that provisions are put in place. We're literally changing culture.
Yep. We're uprooting roots and redefining, because it's not as if, I've talked to so many different folks employing folks in their homes, and they feel some shame around it. Like, oh, then maybe I shouldn't admit that I'm an employer, or maybe I shouldn't hire. But of course, everybody deserves support. we're not, you know, as much as this country sort of claims we're individuals and we'll pull ourselves up by the bootstrap, we're actually so interdependent. We need one another. And both we as caregivers deserve that dignity. Workers deserve that dignity. Our loved ones who receive care deserve, you know, we can actually create a new meaning. We have to acknowledge the history at the same time, in the same way that we have to acknowledge the history of policing in this country and the roots of that. But we can actually create something different aligned with our values.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what the work that you all are doing is putting resources in the hands of people so that they can add.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In many ways, it's both putting resources so folks will have the support they need in their homes to create a fair work agreement with the home care worker they're working with, but also because we know that it's not just happening in single houses, it's happening in our communities, it's happening in our country. We're seeing just the increase in need for home care in particular as our older and elder loved ones live longer and prefer to be able to age at home in their community rather than moved to institutions, that we need the resources to enable them to age with dignity, age in place, age with their families. And family caregivers deserve to be able to provide that support with support themselves. Like the billions of dollars that family caregivers are not paid in this country to make our economy run. It's ridiculous.
What are some ways do you think we can incentivize more people to like genuinely look for careers in care?
You know, at the core of it is making sure home care workers get better pay. In New York right now, we are fighting to raise the minimum wage of home care workers by 150%, because we know that without a dignified family sustaining wage, folks are going to opt to go into other positions. I mean, people are telling us stories of going into fast food jobs because they can get paid better wages in a fast food job in contrast to this vital, essential work of home care that our communities need it, our country needs it, because otherwise we're sort of, I think you and I talked about, we're heading towards a cliff, basically, where there won't be enough home care workers for older folks and people with disabilities to get the support they need at home. And it's going to spill over and have an impact on all of our communities, those of us who are caring for them as well. So really that feels core, this piece around fair pay for home care. And then more of us just talking about our stories and lifting up care work as essential, feels like. I know our partners at National Domestic Workers Alliance and Caring Across Generations are trying to create more representations of caregiving as important and beautiful and powerful work, because you and I know that that's true. I mean, it's hard too, but we got to see the side of it too, of just how valuable it is. But because of the historical roots that you and I talked about, you know, we're really having to uproot those three.
It's like twice the work. I had read an article that said that like nursing homes assisted living facilities, like day centers, and also private pay caregivers. They're all sort of like fighting for this small pool of
Yeah.
people, which makes it so hard even also. What like are there any government incentives that we can fight for, or like how can we make sure that our
Yeah.
voices get
Yeah.
heard?
I mean, so there's different programs state by state. Each of the states determine sort of how funding is set up. In some places, it's more private. In some cases, it's more public. What we've been trying to do at Hand in Hand is organize family caregivers, home care workers, domestic employers, people who hire workers in their homes, to be a part of what we're calling the caring majority. We know we are the majority in this country, rural, urban, across political lines, that so many of us really know the value of care and have been touched by care, whether it's we're a caregiver or receiving care. And over the last 2 years, folks may have heard about this Build Back Better program that the Biden administration, right?
Yes.
Proposed, and we're really fighting to
Yes.
make sure that home and community-based services investment was included in that, which would basically make sure that older adults and people with disabilities across the country could get access to different investments that would help to afford the care that they need. But last year, the pushback happened. The actual proposal got whittled down, and in fact, home and community-based services investment was excluded from. It's like, boo, right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, we just need to make clear. We need to organize together and tell our stories to make clear to our lawmakers, our representatives that we're the bosses of, right? That this investment is crucial, that we all need it. And I'm wondering, even for the folks, I'm seeing all the waves of people joining us, how investment in care might affect you, what your story would be that you would tell our lawmakers to make sure that they would put the resources, so people aren't competing for resources. It should be childcare, home care, paid family leave, public education. We deserve it all. There's the
Yes.
resources for it all in this country.
Something that one of my friends told me, she said that like were all of the caregivers who are on social media, were they to voice their complaints and then tag their senator or like their rep, that we could get hurt more. And so I know that like doing stuff like that won't make change next day, but making sure that they hear that like we are in a crisis. We have like we need help, but then on top of that, there is a growing population of people who are stuck now. And so like that, something that she told me, that were we to have like some sort of campaign where we have people tag their reps, that I think could
absolutely
well.
All of our stories matter, both to influence our reps, and then I often hear, when we meet with our electeds, they have stories too. They're often not telling them, but we need them to tell their stories. We need to tell stories.
Absolutely.
And we need to then make sure that those electeds are taking action in a way that reflects all of our stories, that they're accountable to our communities, really, that we deserve the investment. Our grandmas and grandpas and moms and dads all deserve that investment. Our neighbors with disabilities, they deserve that investment to be able to live at home with dignity and not be forced into institutions. So for sure. I mean, folks can definitely stay involved through social media. We hope you'll join Hand in Hands community on Instagram and share with friends. I think too, just us continuing to tell our stories makes such a difference.
Yeah, people message me saying, "Oh my God, I'm so happy I found your page. I thought I would see only one." And when someone knows that it's not just them, there's a like validation that then gives them the strength to pursue
Yeah.
change. And so many people, you know, are in our seat that like who want change, but they just don't
Yeah.
know how. So one of the like first things that I'd say is share your story. Share your story at work, share it with your neighbors. Like we need to make sure that care becomes a national conversation. And that starts with like each of us taking the time to make sure that someone knows.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say too, with my dad passing away in January, there's been a moment for me where I kind of like, I was just inside. I had to sort of hide a bit. And it was hard to tell people because I didn't want them to feel bad. I didn't really want to sit in the grief sometimes. But there's something about not just someone dying, but this whole piece of care that I think as a culture, we sometimes are like, oh no, you're not supposed to talk about that. You're not supposed to talk about what you love about it or hate about it. It's just inside the house, you know, which is like really interesting, the whole notion of domestic work inside the house. But it's in fact something we share. And as I did talk more to people, both about caregiving for my dad, as well as how hard it was once he left, it opened up for them the space to tell stories to me about the challenges that they were facing. It opened up to me just the ways in which no one has to, obviously we're grieving by ourselves in some ways, but we don't have to grieve by ourselves alone. We can know that it's an experience shared by so many people, and there's actually things we can do about it too.
Knowing that there are things that we can do about it, like it's the first step to some sort of freedom, like the freedom of knowing it's not just you. Long story short, I'm seeing Beyonce in, I know, right? Not on topic at all, but in Sweden. And I had like started searching up what these social supports
Mm.
in Sweden are. I was floored with like the nursing homes, home care, health care, like the level of happiness for citizens there seems like so high because their needs are met. And like when people don't have to like claw for their basic needs, there is so much that can then flower from it.
It's possible. That's what it is. Your story is about both how awesome it is you're going to go see Beyonce, but how possible it is. It's possible to create policies and programs that allow all of us, caregivers, our loved ones, ourselves, to live with dignity. It's so possible. And we as voters and folks in this country have the power to the caring majority to be able to influence our lawmakers to make that real. Yeah.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm hoping that when I'm there, that like the like spirit of equity hits me, and I'm just like, we can solve the problem in America, guys. I know we can.
Yeah, there's so many other countries that have this investment and ways to really honor folks with disabilities, honor older adults, honor caregivers. Really, it's so possible. And no, go ahead.
Sorry. There's so many countries with much less resources who still prioritize their people, and like that's why sharing stories and building morale and building people's sense of value in this sort of work is really important, because when the morale gets built, that's when we fight.
Yeah. What did you say on Monday? Viva la revolution. Yeah.
Viva la revolution.
It's time. We all deserve we all deserve the care we need. You're right. Yeah. So yay. It's been so good to talk with you, Jacquelyn. It's an amazing community of people who are joining us too. Hi out there.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah. It's so great to talk with you. I mean, I know folks have been on for a while, but I know you're also doing amazing work in your writing to lift up stories and change the way people think about care. Do you want to talk a little bit about that with folks?
Sure. So prior to me taking care of my mom, my goal had been to become a TV writer. And so while taking care of my mom, I kept taking courses and so on. And last year, I had applied to a TV writing fellowship where they partner you with a mentor. And my mentor, she is like a TV writing, like, pro. My pilot, I wrote it because I was trying to let solve, like, what social supports, like, what way could I set up somewhere where caregivers have these social supports that they need. And so that pilot was chosen. And it also turns out that my mentor, she's currently taking care of her mom who has dementia. And so it just feels like an opportunity that has been placed in my lap, literally from God. And so I am taking advantage of it as much as I can. But my goal is to have a show where caregivers see themselves, where we can have this conversation in a fun, lighthearted way, but still like, okay, this is serious. Let's all figure out how we can, like, I want to spark the imaginations of what could be. And we just don't have that yet. And so once we show people what could exist, they'll then know what they can fight for. So that's what I really want. That's what I really, that's what I want with my whole heart.
Awesome. That is awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, like I feel like God has put me here right now for this. And so I'm trying to go as hard as I can, because it's not just me. It's literally 53 million others. So
yes,
so important. Viva la revolución. Look, I'm here to fight. I'm here to
Thank you for being such a care visionary. Thank you so much. I'm super excited to partner with you more on behalf of Hand in Hand, and excited to lead this revolution with you to make sure that caregivers get the support they need, that our loved ones who are receiving care actually can access it and afford it, and then that the care workers, the care workforce, also are getting family sustaining wages, respect, and dignity. We all deserve it. We deserve it. Yeah.
Yes. And we will create a passion for care within people who didn't even know
Yes.
they had it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, it's been so awesome to talk with you this morning and to hear more about your work. I'm super excited for what we're building together, and I'm so happy that all of you have joined as well here on our Instagram Live. I'm, again, Stacy from Hand in Hand, Domestic Employers Network. I'm super excited to be here with Jacquelyn, the founder of Mom of My Mom. And yeah, please follow us, stay connected with us, and we're going to build this revolution from the ground up with our hearts and our stories.
A movement. Like, we are starting a movement for sure. And so join us, because I promise you things are going to change.
Yes. Hey.
Yeah. Okay. All right. My heart.
Great. Okay. Thank you all. Thanks again, Jacquelyn. It's been so fun to talk with you.
It's been wonderful talking with you
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you, Stacy. Can't wait to work with you guys in the
Great.
future.
Bye.